First, you must realize that you have no idea before you can know the idea. We scan across all the frequencies if we want to learn anything new. Let us begin.
What has physics done for me lately?
Furthermore, the equation E is equal mc squared.
We have now acquired a fateful power to alter and to destroy nature.
That's like when you're in physics and you go to Dreamworld saying, oh, this is a physics excursion.
Science. What is it all about?
The whole of human history all falls in the dust of one stroke of the nail file. You can't really get to grips with evolution unless you realise what an enormous amount of time.
Our own planet is only a tiny part of the vast cosmic tapestry, a starry fabric of worlds yet untold.
You're tuned into what can only be described as the best radio station. On this blue dot we call Earth, it is of course 4ZZZ, your community broadcaster. Be it on your conventional wireless radio, by tuning into the classic frequency of 102.1 FM, digital devices such as DAB or Smart Speak, listening via the Community Radio Plus app, or streaming us live from our sensational website at 4ZZZ.org.au. And of course, you can always listen back to our show or any 4ZZZ show using the ingenious on-demand feature also found at that URL. We also now have a weekly podcast of the show for your listening pleasure. Created by Toby, a condensed version of the show. It's not much longer. Without the music, which my mum prefers, so search for our show name, which is, of course, No Idea, spelt with a K, your weekly dose of science. And joining me today to speak about all things science are a few of my favourite science communicators. May I please introduce, I think we'll start with Issy.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Our friendly neighbourhood marine scientist, Peta.
That's me, thank you, hello.
And our gregarious science communicator, Gabe.
We've had a really bad string of luck with tech stuff over the last few shows and things going wrong. And this morning, everything was cruisy, fine and dandy. Nothing was going wrong. And literally the second we went to air, one of the cameras we use in the studio just glitched out of nowhere in a spectacular array of colours.
It was like the most animated glitch ever. And we're just sitting there whilst Max is doing the intro, trying not to laugh.
I'd like to point out that I was very professional.
You were.
Peter held it together. Izzy and I were on the floor. Now, Max, I'm going to get in trouble with Toby, who does up our podcast, for mentioning that we're recording this in August. But I wanted to ask if anyone knows why the month that we're currently in is called August.
Oh, really?
Augustus.
It is.
Because of Augustus, because he wanted to name it after himself.
Augustus Caesar.
That classic Roman thing of naming everything after yourself.
Octavia, October, yeah.
In honour of, kind of by others. I'm not.
Please, is that not the same thing in Roman culture?
Anyway, first leader of the Roman Empire in 8 BCE. But it wasn't always called August. The previous name that it was switched from was Sextilis in the pre-Augustus Caesar Roman calendar, which is
Maybe
sext
August
for
is
sixth. So it was the 6th month. But August is, of course, our 8th month because the Roman calendar used to just have 10 months. They kept the name 6th for a long time when it had become the 8th. It was many hundreds of years earlier when it was just the 10 calendar months, and the second king of Rome, Numa Pompilius, changed it to have 12 months.
Fun.
He added in January and February, all based around the cycles of the moon.
Oh, I thought it was also in reflection of the 12 Olympians and like the gods, and it was some sort of reflection of that.
I mean, it was also, there was a lot of lucky numbers stuff going on in that they only went with odd numbers, not even numbers, except for February, which is considered the unlucky month, and it had 28 days, and the others. But the calendar was only 355 days. It didn't quite line up with the solar year of how long it takes us to go around. But all of that, when we went from 10 months to 12 months in the Roman calendar, happened around 713 BCE. And it just so happened that we are in our 713th episode of this show, No Idea. And it is National Science Week. This week.
It is.
Across the country. The theme. Did anyone read the theme of this?
Fiercely science.
Fiercely science off the back of Radiothon's Fiercely Independent.
Numbers are cool too.
It is the seeds of science. So sit back, over the next little while and let us
we sow
plant
our
our
seed.
seed of science. What are you planting, Peter?
I'm planting stuff that I'd usually be planting. Got some cool brain science and some fuzzy friends. And I'm also going to be going into teefies, but not the ones you're thinking of.
Me, I'm talking about Ken, but not really. I'm talking about human Kens and how our ankles deteriorate as we get older, or our mobility with our ankles.
Human Kens. Izzy, you got something?
Maybe.
We'll find
So I'm gonna sow that seed and then reap it later in the.
And then I did manage to find a story on the seed theme, so we'll get into that a little later on with a bit of a mystery seed disperser.
Does anyone here have a pet?
Yep.
Yep.
Snake? That count?
Not for this one.
Oh.
Dog. Izzy,
Dog.
that's great. You may know that your dog's pretty good at communicating with you. Actually, I don't know your dog. Is your dog good at communicating with you?
Well, it's technically my partner's dog, a Scout, a miniature Schnauzer. So quite an intelligent breed, unfortunately. So very communicative, and very much Schnauzers have this thing where they'll look at you and look at the thing that they want and then look at you and you just kind of infer.
That's
So,
quite good.
yes.
That's pretty advanced communication, and that's something that we know that dogs can do. They're very good at communicating with humans, even without words. Which is, they don't use the same language that we do, but we do translate with each other. Has anyone heard of Bunny the dog?
Oh my god, the button.
The button dog. Now that's pretty
Yeah.
advanced communication, and that is a real life translation. Up in the air as to how realistic that really is, but still very interesting. At the end of the day, even if you don't believe that Bunny really understands language, I think we can all agree that that dog does fundamentally understand that it's using these things to get something that it wants.
Yes, even if it's not communicating with our definition of the word, it's certainly trying to communicate with the human for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the same way, like the famous example was the horse that could do maths.
Yeah.
And it turned out that the experimenter, who I think was also the owner,
Yeah.
had very subtle subconscious cues that the horse picked up on for which one
Tiny
they wanted
facial
the horse to
expressions.
pick.
Yeah.
Tiny little differences, and so the horse just learned to pick up on. Oh, I picked the one that they have this tiny subconscious cue towards. Then I get a carrot or something.
Yeah, that
So
is
it's-
still communication, even if it wasn't the intended message or exactly how we meant to send it. So dogs are really great in that they know where we're looking, which is actually it sounds really simple, but is something that humans developed over a very long time. They understand pointing, they understand our emotions, and like I said, because we don't speak or emote in the same way, it means that they've learned to read us in the same way that we've learned to read them. Like we know that a waggy tail is a happy dog, they've learned similarly, I guess. And because we can't ask them about it, except for maybe Bunny, the only way to learn about them comes from studying their brains. And this week I've got not one but two studies that scanned dogs' brains. So the first comes to us from Harvard University. QS ranking, please.
Oh,
4.
3.
yeah, I think it's 4 or 5.
It's 5. And this is led by Melina Cordeau, who wanted to look in about how communication developed in dogs and how it developed in their brains. And the second is from the University of Vienna. QS ranking.
Vienna.
100.
18.
Max, I was going to say 18. 18.
It's 140.
Oh.
Yay! Job, Izzy. So we'll get into that one later. We're going to start with the Harvard one. So what they were looking at is how human-driven selection or training changes dogs' brains, specifically asymmetry, which we've talked about before. Complex brains tend to not be symmetrical because we put different things in different places, and that helps specialization. Dogs have this as well, and dogs are a really good way for us to study lateralization generally. But this is actually just looking at them and how it's affected them and how specifically we've affected them. Because remember, dogs aren't natural. We made dogs. Wolves existed. We made dogs. Dogs are a completely fabricated group, I guess, species. And specifically, dog breeds are also very different. So one of the things they did is they got 108 dogs of different breeds, and they got some breeds that were what they call modern and some pre-modern. Essentially, modern breeds may have stronger specializations than breeds where we stopped selecting earlier. So because we've been selecting for longer, selecting traits we like, other things may have come with that.
Sure.
So more selected dogs, which are the modern breeds. They also tested trained versus released service dogs that came from the same program. So essentially, like the ones that failed versus the ones that succeeded. Poor things. They call them released. which I thought was sweet. You've been released from service, which I was like, oh, yeah, you got sacked, brother. Sorry about that. But the reason for that is because they have they have the same breeding, very similar upbringing, and it reduces sort of both nature and as much nurture as they wanted to get rid of. So it focuses on a very specific part. So essentially, they wanted to separate historical selection from individual training experience, because we know both of those things can have an effect on your brain. That's the big thing. Then they threw them in MRI machines, not together, separately, and they were trained to sit very quietly in the MRI machine, which I think is really cute. The second study had a picture of that. Adorable. And they wanted to see the connections between their different brain regions as well as that brain asymmetry. And the main thing they found, which is really cool, is that selectively breeding dogs has altered especially communication-related brain pathways, and specifically brain pathways pertaining to vocal and word processing, which is really weird because usually we see those traits in animals with complex vocal communication themselves. So birds, humans, obviously, and then some marine mammals also have that, where you can see that they're used to taking in information about vocal speech and figuring out what it means. And it turns out dogs are doing that as well. And the more selected a dog had been, so the more modern the breed, the more that happens. So they've got a stronger ability to understand vocal and word processing. At least they've got those pathways in their brain. Then what they did was they looked at the trained versus untrained dogs. Well, I mean, they're both trained. It's just some failed. They're still probably better than most household dogs, I'd argue, but you get to see like the level of training versus lower. And they found that basically the strength of the brain pathways related to interpreting cues and executing responses. Essentially, that they trainability, selection and experience work at different scales. So the selection would build the framework that the dogs would have, would tell you how much asymmetry you would have, and then training would tell you how immediate those pathways were. They also found, weirdly, that they could predict trainability of a dog from their MRI. So, like, they were able to see, like, from the MRI,
screening,
could you train this dog really intensely? Do they have the sort of predisposition to it? Which was pretty cool, and something that I think, while it was a minor in their study, might be a very major thing for things like
guide dogs.
Like, that would be something they'd love to be able to screen at a young age, so that they don't have to put the dogs through the training if it's not something they're going to be able to achieve. So, super, super cool. The next study focused on what we were talking about earlier about emotions. So, previously we knew that dogs could differentiate human emotions, but it was mainly just positive emotions versus negative emotions. One of the things they did with this is they found that dogs tend to, if they're offered two boxes by two humans, the pictures, they're not real humans because it's science, they would choose a box identified by a human with a happy facial expression over one that was scared or disgusted, suggesting that dogs, to some degree, would use emotional human expressions as references, as like, well, which choice should I make? Well, they seem happier with this one, we'll go with this one. And you'll see that this sort of plays out throughout this research, is that it seems like dogs are using our emotions as a proxy for decision making, and I think it shows really how ingrained they are with our lives, and that's probably because we bred them to be that way. But we, like, the whole man's best friend is like, you work together. So for us, seeing a happy dog means we're probably okay. If we see a scared dog, humans go, oh, that something bad might be happening. But it seems like they might be doing the same thing to us as well, watching us for cues of danger, watching us for cues of things that are great. So this study, previous research only did one positive versus one negative emotion at a time, which basically means you can't really tell. You know that they can tell positive versus negative, but you can't really tell if they know more than that. So these researchers wanted to delve a little bit deeper and see if they could find differences between similar emotions. And they wanted to, see if they could differentiate that stuff. So they used, again, MRI. One big caveat here is that it was a much smaller study. The first study had 108 dogs. This one had only 20 dogs in total. And that was between two different trials. So there was 8 in the first, 12 in the second. They said to think of this more of a proof of concept. Needs a lot more research with a lot more dogs, but at least we're trying to see it. And then they showed them pictures of humans' faces in different emotions. Now, these were unfamiliar people. Previous research has shown that they are much better at reading their owners' faces, which makes sense. As like humans, you know the people that you know best. But they showed them 4 different emotions. So, Gabe's going to try these out, and you guys can tell me what they are.
Sorry?
What face is Gabe making?
Well, he just looks normal to me.
Sad.
Yeah.
He's sad, that's correct.
Normal.
Rick said normal.
That's crazy. It's sad.
Now what is he? Max?
Happy.
No.
What?
Grimacing.
Grimace, yeah.
Okay, that's very specific. It's angry. He's angry.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
angry that you thought that was his normal face. What about this one? You can show
Struggling.
this. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What's Gabe now?
Surprised?
Gabe's acting's a baby on the line here. That was fear. He was scared.
Oh, okay.
This is great radio,
And
by the way.
the last one.
Happy.
Yeah.
Actual happy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you guys are here to translate. So they got those 4 emotions:
Like us or whatever,
sadness,
right.
anger, fear, and happiness. So 3 of those are negative and 1 is positive. And the main thing they found is, yes, dogs can tell when we're happy. In fact, the cool thing here is that they found that dogs had these, in their brains, had the strongest representation. So like a lot of their brain was working when they saw happy people. They were like, oh, that's great. They're super good at telling when we're happy, and a lot of their brain lights up when it happens. They had it was specifically in the frontotemporal caudate of the dogs, just if anyone's interested. But they can also tell the difference between different negative emotions. Not all of them. Some of them they were less good at telling apart, but the one thing that they were very good at telling apart from other negative emotions was fear. So out of all the negative emotions, fear came up a lot. And this is where I think it is that whole thing about dogs learning to use us. We use each other. So if I saw a scared dog, I might be scared, like when you're at home at 11 p.m. and your dog starts barking at something out the window. Absolutely terrifying. But the same with us. If we're randomly scared, they're also going to be scared because they use us to know what's going to happen around them. So there's some really cool research about dog communication and brains and how we're wired together. And yes, we've made a species, but we really have become best friends.
You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea, your weekly dose of science. With me, Max. We got Issy. We got Peta. Gabe, you ready for it?
Let's do it. Now, I got a mystery, a seedy mystery for you this morning that genuinely, if one of you 3 can pick this, I'll shout your next 4ZZZ subscription because I think it is such a wild answer that you will just have no chance of getting it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So, this is, because I was looking for a seed-based story for National Science Week, Seeds of Science. I assumed I'd end up in the agricultural section and ended up somewhere very different.
Yep.
Instead ended up in a mystery of how a seed gets dispersed that has just been solved this month. Now, this grows in the tropical coastal forests in Japan, and on the ground there's this weird looking mushroom. It looks like a mushroom a lot of the time, big bulbous brown mushroom, but it is in fact a plant. And it's a parasitic plant that grows on the roots of other plants by stealing the nutrients. It's called Balanophora fungosa, and it has what is described as a yeasty scent and pale
Pick a
colours.
lane, plant. Jesus.
Yeasty snake.
But it kind of looks like the stem looks like maybe like a really short bit of asparagus, but a pinkish hue.
Okay.
Very sort of fleshy looking stem, and then the top bit is a bit like. I guess a lychee, like a big lychee, but instead of spikes, it's covered in thousands of tiny seeds, like kind of strawberry-esque with the coverage, but they're little spiky bits are all the way around. Each of those seeds are covered in little bumpy bits. They're covered in a bit of dried fruit, but the question has been, and no one's really known, how those seeds spread. They're sitting on the outside of the plant like that with a tiny bit of dried fruit there, but they don't know how they spread. The idea had been for a long time that this group of plants must spread just using the wind. They dry off, they blow away, fall to the ground from gravity, and then get blown across the forest floor. But a dense tropical forest is not somewhere where you get a lot of wind. There's too much stuff in the way for wind to pick up and get down to the bottom around the roots where these things are. So there's really no evidence for the wind thing. It was just the best guess.
What's
your idea?
No, if you're giving us more clues, tell us.
I'll accept multiple guesses.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking, my first thought is if it's spiky, that implies that they want to stick into something. So
Not spiky in that sense.
Oh, okay.
More just like
are they
covered in
sticky?
seeds. I think they do describe them as a bit sticky.
Because then my thought would be like things walking past, brushing past, like monkeys and stuff getting stuck in their fur.
That's what I thought as well.
First guess.
So there's been some more recent studies on similar plants that has narrowed it down to a group of animals, which is a very big group of animals, the invertebrates.
Oh,
so
that's quite large.
what they found is other similar species are spread by things like cockroaches, crickets, and a lot of the time ants are the big spreaders. They'll take it, eat the fruit around it, either deposit the seed out or leave it in their holes somewhere, and they'll grow from there. So what they wanted to do was see if the same is going on for these ones in these coastal Japanese forests. But the researcher who's involved in this study covered the plants with nets, and that were large enough to let ants through, but not any other animal. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the fruits weren't getting picked up.
Really?
So they excluded everything but an ant or something smaller, as small as an ant, and it didn't get moved. So, all right, plan 2, camera traps. Let's see what's going on in these forests. And so they went through and they did find some invertebrates feeding on the seeds and potentially spreading them, insects specifically, going through and potentially spreading them in low numbers. But the main disperser, do you want to get any final guess?
No.
Well, I thought you were leading us up to something we could guess with.
No, this is not something, this is a very random thing for it to be. There's no easy logical part to get here. The camera trap showed something very strange.
Oh, so gosh. They're saying it's invertebrates, and it's not ants, and it can't be smaller than ants.
No. It can't be smaller than ants.
Can't be smaller than ants. So bigger than an ant.
Like dragonflies or something is my only thought. Like
something flying.
Or no, because they said cockroaches.
Worms.
But then I'm trying to think if anything drops from a tree that would disperse things. But I'm still thinking monkey, honestly, which is probably not right because he'd be leading with monkey if it was monkey, and I don't think it's monkey.
It is. The main disperser turned out to be a land hermit crab.
Really?
What? No! It was a crab?
It was a crab.
Really?
And the results were published in the journal Ecology out of Kobe University. You got a...
Oh, Kobe. We've done Kobe before.
Yeah. QS ranking.
55.
Let's go 35.
73.
504.
And beef number one.
They found that these, they go up, they approach the fruits, use their pincers to sort of scrape away lots of the fruits and just strip strip the plant of its little fruits with seeds in the middle. And as they're doing that, there's bits of seeds getting stuck, like you thought, to other bits of their bodies that they're not eating. Thank you.
That's a hermit crab.
That's a hermit crab, actually.
That's a hermit
crab. That was Declan from Hawthorne.
Coming in and stripping the sub.
Strip down the plant of its fruit, and some get stuck, and then they can travel up to 100 meters away where they could drop off. They also found some potential evidence that it could pass through their guts and go through that way, like a lot of birds do.
Oh, nice.
And they found that the land hermit crabs seem to actively seek out mature plants. They didn't see them around immature plants, which implies this more formal relationship between the plants and the land hermit crabs, where it's not just that they're opportunistically feeding on them. They know to seek out mature plants when the fruits are most nutritious. Yeah. And so that's probably a more entrenched ecological relationship between these land hermit crabs and the plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And so this is the first observation for these land hermit crabs being involved in seed spreading, but it could be a more recognized general pattern. There's lots of land hermit crabs around the world, including Japan, and there's some in Australia, up in northern Queensland and the Territory. So they say this could be an under-recognized role of invertebrates as seed spreaders. It happens that there was another study that came out this month that found they did this big synthesis of a bunch of different papers and found that globally there's at least 51 invertebrate species across 186 plant taxa that are involved in dispersing their seeds. So, yeah.
So your seeds get a cockroach.
That's it.
Fish.
It's fish!
Thank God! Someone's working on this. I don't know what I'd do without it.
Fish are friends, not food.
Great start. Gabe, what does a cat say?
Yeah.
Max, what does a chicken say?
Cluck, cluck.
And Issy, what does a shark say? All right, Max, wise up. How many sharks do you reckon there are?
Oh, 200?
Like total.
Species or?
No, like total.
In the world.
Yes. Well, in the millions.
Seen it?
In the millions.
It's probably higher than that. I mean, I don't know the answer. I just wanted to see if you had a guess. I think a more salient question, though, is how many sharks should there be?
Yeah.
Because we don't know. We know it's a hell of a lot more than there is now, but how much more is sort of unknown because we were fishing long before we started counting them. So that makes it a little hard. Shark populations on coral reefs specifically have declined globally, but we don't really have any baselines to figure out the natural variability before human impact, and that's sort of what we're looking at today. So fishing and other human impacts have 100% reduced the amount of sharks out there. That is not up for debate. They've also reduced the amount of ecological functions that they do across the world's ocean. We also know that one of the areas they are disproportionately threatened and face a lot of threats is coral reefs. For some reason, it's just the area where they're really struggling is on coral reefs around the world. Now, with many animals, when we want to figure out how many there should be, Gabe, what do we do if we want to figure out how many animals there should be of something, usually?
How many animals there should be?
Yeah, of a population.
You mean like if you're to sustainably harvest it or just...
No, just if you wanted to know, like...
should be.
I like how Gabe
be, like, what were there before humans?
We just count
how
them.
many? What the historical population might be. Oh, I gotcha. Well, you could go through historical records. It'd be a big thing that people do to look for, and then compare that to modern counts. If you can go, with this amount of effort, you caught this many sharks in this area in 1820, and you do the same effort in the same area.
But that historical record was written by humans. We don't have that.
Yes.
What would you? What's a different type of historical record you'd use?
Well, you could use indigenous knowledge, or you could go much further back in time and use fossil records.
Fossil records. Fossil records are one of the things that we use a lot for animals to try and get an idea of where they were before humans. But that kind of relies on there being fossils, which sharks don't really have.
I see where I was supposed to go with my answer.
Why don't sharks have fossils? Remind me.
Because they're just made of cartilage and no sort of calcium,
Correct.
whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
Gold star max. They do not have bones. They have cartilage. So what we find of them is primarily teeth and a sort of tooth that isn't a tooth. Denticles. Now, denticles are shark scales. They're really rough one way, and then they're very smooth the other way around. The whole point of them is that they cut down drag so they can swim faster. They also provide a bit of protection to their skin. They are tooth-like, hence the name. They sort of look like teeth, so they call them denticles. But they're also made out of tooth material, so very similar materials, so they tend to stick around. And even more excitingly, they shed continuously throughout their life. So the researchers of this article called these denticles dandruff. Shark dandruff is what they want you to think of them as.
That's good.
Which I think is underselling it a bit, but sure. So this comes to us from the University of California, Santa Barbara.
Santa
Barbara.
228.
193.
60.
173. Congrats, Izzy. Nice. So these researchers had a thought way back in 2014. What if we could use shark dandruff for science? So essentially their idea was if you could count the denticles in a very well-dated bit of sediment, you then would have an estimate of how many sharks swam overhead of that area, shedding their scales.
Okay.
So what they did is they looked at two reefs very close together, but separated by the Isthmus of Panama. So that's just a narrow strait of land, by the way. So on one side, the Caribbean, the Bocos del Toro. That's where we are. That's the name of the reef. On the other side, the Pacific, the Gulf of Panama. Now, they share very, very similar shark species, so a lot of them are the same, but they have very different fishing pressure and different oceanic conditions. So Panama has a lot more upwelling and more fishing. Like that. The nutrients go up into the Gulf of Panama, just like that.
That's what it
and
sounds
the
like.
fisheries come even faster to go take everything that's feeding on that. But when you're setting a baseline, you have to figure out when you want to look to in the fossil record. So, exactly. Really far back. Before fishing, which has been happening for, I cannot express this enough, such a long time. We have been fishing for a very, very, very long time. But specifically, we wanted to do before intensive fishing, which has been ramping up over time, but especially since the 80s. So they found a time that was similar to today, pretty stable climatically with sea level and something called deposition, which is how soil, and sediments come apart. So how stable that is. And they chose the mid-Holocene. Gabe, can you tell everyone when that was?
20,000 years ago is the end of Holocene, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
I don't know when it
so
started.
they were
tens
looking
of
in the middle.
thousands of
So
years
this
ago?
was between 7,000 and 3,000 years ago was their sort of time range. So perfect.
when it started.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they collected a bunch of sediment from then and then also some from the last 100-ish years. It gets harder with fossils to do more recent stuff because it's not as well preserved. The time has not really helped you, so just it's sort of 100 years-ish that they think. And they found in only 157 samples 3,497 denticles. And I'm not even going to go into how they pulled them out because that process seemed awful, god awful. But they did do that, and that's a lot of denticles. But it was not an even split at all. So in the Caribbean, they found about 50 denticles in 10 kilograms of sediment. And again, pour one out for the poor scientists had to find 500 tiny scales in 10 kilograms of dirt. Not fun. And then on the other side, in the Gulf of Panama, they found 200 denticles in just 1 kilogram.
Okay.
So that is about 20 times more. So about 20 times more sharks in the Gulf of Panama than the reefs in the Caribbean. And it's only 100 kilometers away, has many of the same shark species. So what that's telling us is that there's something on that side in the Gulf of Panama that supports more sharks being there. And it's not necessary, even though they're both reefs, it's a very different system. So the interesting thing is that they've also got this sort of quasi-modern area, which is representative of when fishing is here. And remember, fishing is far, far, far more intensive in the Gulf of Panama. There's a huge amount
where
of fishing
there were more
there,
sharks
where
in the
there was
fossil
more
record.
sharks in the fossils. Exactly. And weirdly, that gap has only gotten wider. So the Caribbean denticle accumulation fell by about 75% with fishing.
Yeah.
But the Pacific rates today are about the same from their prehistoric levels. So what that basically means is that now there's about 100 times more sharks in the Gulf of Panama than on the Caribbean. And nowadays we've got better ways to actually measure that. So to be clear, that is a really rough thing only going from the fossil record. If you actually wanted to check, you could do that nowadays with real science. But it's all to do with nutrients. So the Gulf of Panama has a bunch of upwelling, which is essentially cold, nutrient-rich water coming up from the deep. And that sets off this huge chain of events that essentially means you get a lot of what we call productivity. So there's animals and more animals and then plants and everyone's eating everyone and then you get a lot of things living there. And essentially, because it has this seasonal upwelling, you get an area that can support more animals. So you get more sharks. And even with this huge amount of fishing, they seem to be able to, let's say, bounce back better. They're more resilient to the fishing pressure because of where they live. The Caribbean, on the other hand, is far more shaky. And so as soon as there was fishing pressure there, the sharks just disappeared. And they weren't able to really resist it at all and come back. They also want to be very clear that the authors say that this does not say that the Gulf right now has enough sharks. Right? We don't know if they have enough sharks because the rocks they were looking at, the sediments they were looking at were from around the last 100 years. And fishing has only really industrialized since the 80s. And our catch of sharks specifically has really spiked in like the last 20, 30 years. So you don't want to necessarily assume that, it's all hunky-dory, we can just keep doing what we're doing. That's not really what they're saying. The point of the study was to show how oceanic conditions should inform our conservation. Because even though these reefs are right next to each other, you shouldn't use the Gulf of Panama as an example of what you should do for the Caribbean. Because they're not, have never been the same and will never be the same. And they have different rates. So it's all about just really understanding where you are and what it can support and how all of these things are huge interconnected webs that you need to have a bit more knowledge of. But super cool that they were able to dig through sediments, find little tiny shark scales and estimate how many sharks there were just nearby.
You're tuning to 4ZZZ and the show is No Idea with me, Max. We got Issy, we got Peta. Gabe, hit us up about Radiothon.
About Radiothon, well, yes, we are in the afterglow of Radiothon, the week and a bit every year where we push to get the subscribers that keep the station running for another 12 months. It sounds a little bit dramatic, but that's kind of how it works.
It was more dramatic when Izzy did the maths.
We do this push once a year, and it keeps us running for the next 12 months. That's the idea anyway. If you haven't subscribed, if you did subscribe, thank you. If you haven't yet, jump onto 4ZZZ.org.au/support. Because there are still a couple of the prizes that people we partner with for 4ZZZ are still up for grabs, an afterglow sort of thing, if you go and subscribe, even though the week is technically passed. But Max, there's been some stats out in the wake of Radiothon and during National Science Week that we saw in the ABC out of the Queensland Curriculum and Assessment Authority that, I don't know, put a little smile on our dial because it's shown that in the past 6 years, the total enrolments in STEM subjects, so science, tech, engineering, maths, in Queensland schools is up 17%.
Hell yeah.
And in some of those subjects is up 50%. Pretty amazing. There's still, in the numbers, obviously a big split with more boys getting into a lot of these overall into STEM subjects, except for biology, which is majority girls. But they are showing that imbalance is shifting. So it's more and more girls are getting enrolled, especially in higher maths. So the extension maths or Maths C or whatever it's called.
Girls love maths.
There's a big boost in girls getting enrolled in that for grade 12. So just amazing to see. But Max, you couldn't help yourself but notice that those 6 yearly growth just happens to coincide with the recent era of No Idea when the two of us started and then the two of you jumped in. And for the last, 4 years or so, we've been running this and 5 years. And we had V and J on for a lot of it as well. We'll take just a little tiny,
well, I'll see what the marine science uptake is.
Tiny sliver of the credit, shall we? But if you would like to support 4ZZZ and keep this show running, No Idea, the science show has been on 4ZZZ airwaves for over 12 years. Like, that's incredible support from a community radio station to have a show pumping out science every Wednesday morning for years and years and years, well over a decade. And that genuinely wouldn't happen if people didn't support and subscribe to 4ZZZ. Issy ran some basic numbers on how much it would cost. It's a lot of money. We're all volunteers running this stuff, but just keeping the mics on and running everything costs a lot of money. So if you'd like to support it, 4ZZZ.org.au/support.
4ZZZ's premiere motorsports show with a slice of science attached. No Idea on Wednesdays.
Single press overtake, stay in narrow 7.
If you push me off the track, I think you have to leave a space. All the time you have to leave a space.
Come on. Get it, Kill. Get it. Woo!
Yeah, you don't need to tell me that.
Max, we're in this together, mate. Head down. Come on.
Yes! Great job, guys. That was hard work. Oh, that was hard work.
F1, there's a change of guard at the Cadillac's team, F1 team. Graham Loudon has been replaced as team principal with Polish Formula One engineer Marcin Budkowski.
Really?
He's a former team principal of the Alpine F1 team, and he was an FIA deputy race director. It was no big surprise. Yeah, it wasn't a big surprise. Graham actually said that his involvement would end with the Cadillac F1 team after he sort of got everything in place, all the ducks in a row, if you will, even if those ducks are at the back of the field.
Back of the field, but I think everyone's been rather impressed with how they've gotten a car ready in. For the most part, they had like 12 months to actually get it from concept to execution on the track, and he did it, and they're only 2.5 seconds. It's a lot in F1 world. Like they're racing around, they're not getting disqualified. It's pretty impressive what they've been able to do.
And rule of thumb is 5 to 10 years before they even become competitive. So the FIA has put a line in the sand by stating that it will take no further action against teams using the Macarena wing concept. As we know, Ferrari, Red Bull and McLaren have their own sort of version of the concept. So it'll be interesting to see if other F1 teams want to adopt this strategy, the Macarena wing or not. So the Macarena wing is when it does a full 180 turn at the back of the car.
At the back. The spoiler flips itself.
Yeah, it does.
It
For
reduces
speed.
drag down the straights,
and then flips back when they're under braking and low corner speed. And those, I'm thinking, you, Gabe, if you've got a bit of spare cash lying around after subscribing to 4ZZZ, there's some memorabilia available from a company called F1 Authentics. It's an extremely limited run in their mystery box products. So you don't know what you're getting necessarily.
Fantastic.
It's limited to 1,000 pieces worldwide, and it will contain a piece of Max Verstappen's 2021 title-winning Red Bull, the RB16B. So I wonder what they've got going on.
No way.
Wouldn't that be cool if you opened the box up and that sound came? And it automatically had subscribed to 4ZZZ.
How small have they broken that car up into to get?
I know. Yeah. You know, you could probably break up the rear spoiler into 1,000 pieces, you think?
That's it.
Yeah, job done.
It is carbon fibre after all.
Women in motorsport, Issy, hit us up.
We do. T-minus 2 days, 10 hours till the girls race at Zandvoort, with their feature race occurring at 3 a.m. Australian time on your Monday morning. We're heading into the second half of the campaign, which sees 3 exciting weeks in said Zandvoort, Austin as well, and then Las Vegas, so finishing in the Americas. This week's qualifying will set the tone for the weekend, with the stats saying 6 of the previous 7 races were won by the driver who started on pole. So because of the obvious cut in the women's round in Saudi Arabia, and Dubai, we get the additional feature races coming through. So we'll
2
get
races per weekend. It's now 3 races.
It's now 3 races.
Yeah.
So we'll be milking that as much as possible as we head into the last 3 rounds. But August 15th is the 50th anniversary of the last female to race in an F1 race, the late Lela Labodi in the Austrian Grand Prix in 1976. And I've actually watched this race as well. I've tried to find some footage and some interview footage. She qualified in her, Ram entered, Barbham BT. Ram entered Barbham BT 44B in a 24th position and finished 12th. She remains the only woman to have finished a Grand Prix in a scoring position, which was 6th in Spain in 1975, which was when Z was made, when half points were awarded.
Well said.
So very interesting, quite a strong. The interviews with her are quite. She's well composed. So it's interesting though. It's been 50 years.
And I think she only did till she was 50 years old anyway.
Yes,
so,
exactly. She unfortunately died quite early. So it's once you put those stats in place, it is crazy to see like not only the progression in other series, but also the fact you haven't had a woman on the grid in 50 years.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite interesting. So very excited to watch the girls.
And this is what F1 Academy is trying
that's
to.
the whole point of it. Yeah.
So.
But yes, I'm excited to see the girls again 3 more times.
And
they
should be good around the Zandvoort track.
Oh, yeah, because that's their testing track.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where everyone is training and testing a season before it begins.
So be really tight racing.
So everyone's going to be quite knowledgeable, or at least the rookies are going to have to pick it up quite fast.
Pretty well. IndyCar also happened on the weekend. It was at St. Pete's, and it was won by the Swedish driver Marcus Ericsson. With, here we go, the Phoenix, Roman Grosjean. We haven't heard from him for a while. He was second, and then Ozzy Willpower came in third. And for those F1 fans of Mick Schumacher, the son of the famous Mick Schumacher, he only managed to finish 14 of the 1990 required laps and was classified as last in the 25 car field. So there you go. Now, that's another. We get coming up. NASCAR also happened on the weekend, and former supercar champion Shane Van Gisbergen was racing on his least comfortable race circuit, an oval, and he has to stay in the chase cutoff of 16, the top 16, and he managed to finish 14th at the Richmond Raceway Oval, and which earned him enough points to keep him in the top 16 NASCAR drivers. So he has a 50-point buffer, which should be sufficient to see him through to the series final, which is 10 races. And there's 2 more of the regular season to go, which are both on oval circuits. But I'm thinking the 50 points should be enough to keep him there. And for those who don't follow NASCAR, SVG has sort of put a rocket up the NASCAR officials, because he kept winning the road races, and they had this old rule where if you win a race, you're automatically into the finals or the chase. That is, for this year, because of SVG, they had to change the rules because he keeps winning the road races and therefore automatically gets included into the chase, where he has no oval ability. So it's a misrepresentation of the actual
he's
finals.
skewing the
It's not
data.
the best drivers. So now he has to earn his position in the top 16 purely on but doing well in other races, including the road circuits, and which is he has done with that 50-point margin. So that's great. We'll see him in the finals, and we'll see how he goes. He's not going to win the championship this year, but he might be a real good
up there
for next year.
Suffering from success, it sounds like.
Very
Well and
much so,
truly.
yeah. Okay, Gabe, F1 this weekend.
It is. F1's this weekend. Zandvoort, like you said, with the F1 Academy there as well, which is pretty good. I think it's an 11 p.m. Sunday race.
Yeah, it's Max Verstappen's home race. So we've got practice at Friday at 8:30 p.m. The sprint. It's a sprint weekend. So we've got the sprint qualifying at 12:30 a.m. in the Saturday morning. We've got the sprint itself, which is what I'll be watching because it's at a doable hour. It's on Saturday night at 8 p.m.
Nice.
And then qualifying for the feature race will happen at midnight on Sunday night. And then, or Saturday night, and then the race, the feature race, will be at 11 p.m. Sunday
That's
night.
the one. There's also Sail GP on this weekend in Germany, and the supercars are around Ipswich.
Oh, really? This weekend?
Whoa, in our own backyard.
Okay. Well, I should go and cover that, shouldn't I?
Yeah, on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Go on, Max.
Okay. Is that it for the MotoRap this week? Planting the seeds this week with me, Max. We've got Issy, we've got Gabe, we've got Peta, we've got part 3 of this. Last week we spoke about Barbie and Ken. I got pulled up a lot this week. People liked the article last week. And you, Gabe, you were surprised that Ken didn't actually have ankles. The part of the manufacturing process, they leave it out for rigidity for Ken. Where Barbie does, some of the range in the Barbie dolls do have movable ankles. So.
Well, she's got to move. She's
That was
Barbie.
right.
Yeah.
That was the latest research was that the least human accurate, on average, the least human accurate
Was the
proportion
ankles.
on the Barbie dolls was Ken's ankle.
Yeah, well, he's just Ken.
He is just Ken. Like, his job is Ken.
That's true.
Like, he
Job is
doesn't need to
Ken.
really
Why do we
put
care?
on shoes, does he?
He's always on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. His
Yeah.
job is beach.
That's right.
His job is beach. Why do you need ankles?
Yeah.
Next time you beach, try not having ankles.
That's right. Anyway, this study looked at how ankles change with age while people walk by tracking age as a sliding scale from 26 years old to 86 years old. The approach let the researchers see exactly which moments in each step are affected by aging, rather than just looking at a group of young people versus a much older group. The main takeaway they found was that as people get older, their calf and shin muscles seem to work harder during the early part of each step, but that extra effort does not actually translate into more pushing power. Specifically, right after the foot hits the ground and through mid-stance, older adults showed more simultaneous activity in both the muscle that pulls the foot up and the one that pushes it down. Even though
I'm going to fall over after listening to this. I don't want to
Why are
think
my
about how
ankles
I
feeling
walk.
tingly?
Even though the actual forces the ankle was producing were smaller. They liken it to revving two opposing engines at once. The muscles are firing more, but the net motion is more controlled and less powerful. And this looks like a stability strategy, clamping the ankle down to keep it steady, probably because older adults get less reliable feedback from the nerves in their feet and ankles about where their body is in space. So they compensate by tensing muscles on both sides of the joint.
It's the brain basically saying, I have no input. Let me just tense everything.
What could go wrong? The extra bracing pattern wasn't happening the whole time, though. Towards the end of the stance phase, right before push-off, the co-contraction actually dropped and muscle activity in the calf lined up more normally with pushing off forces. But even then, older adults still did not produce as much forward propulsion, and their ankle stayed in a more flexed up position instead of pointing down as much for a strong push. This suggests the problem is not just about nerve signals, it is also about the physical properties of the muscle and tendon. Tendons tend to get stiffer and less springy with age, so even when the muscle is firing correctly, it cannot store and release energy the same way, meaning less bounce and less push at toe off. So there seems to be two separate things going on: an early stance over cautious strategy, where the brain and nerves compensate for poor balance feedback by tensing muscles more than needed, and a late stance mechanical limitation, where the muscle tendon unit just cannot generate the same spring-like push it used to. And this distinction matters for real-world advice. Simply telling older adults to get stronger may not fix the early stance over bracing, since that's more about balance and coordination training than raw strength. Likewise, balance training alone probably will not restore lost tendon spring. Both problems likely need to be addressed together through exercises that improve balance and body awareness, as well as training that keeps tendons and calf muscles springy and strong.
So dancing. You need to go do dancing.
Okay. Recommendation.
That's my advice. Do dancing. It helps you with balance, it helps you with body awareness, and it will make you very strong, weirdly.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of caveats for this study. The muscle activity measurements were scaled to each person's own peak effort rather than compared to a true maximum contraction. So we cannot say for certain how much muscles were really working in absolute terms, only how the pattern shifted within each person's stride. And also the study did not account for walking speed. And since older adults naturally tend to walk more slowly, some of these changes could be partly explained by that slower pace rather than age itself.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
There you go. So that's my study on ankles and why Ken does not have them. Okay.
But what if that little treat was a termite? I don't know what. Anyway.
What bridge are we crossing here?
We're crossing something, Max. Let me cook. All right.
You tune into 4ZZZ and the show is No Idea with me, Max. We got Gabe. We got Peter. What do you got for us, Issy?
Max, you've been playing a lot of new music in this show, and with the new release of a lot of new music across all kind of genres, including Phoebe Bridges' new album, I am saying heed this warning. This is fresh off the press. Researchers from, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm not going to give you the QS ranking. I'm going to say what they are and you have to guess. Research from the #1 medical school in the world.
Harvard, yeah. Oh. 5.
Medical
school.
Is it one of the London colleges?
St. Bart's or something, and it's only medicine.
Well,
is it one of the only medicine places, or is it they do medicine?
It's the school. It's a university that also does medicine.
I'm going to say Imperial College London.
Imperial College London.
Max, you hit it on the head. It's Harvard Medical School.
Oh.
They did research into. They did a cross-sectional study using a population-based registry of fatal U.S. motor vehicle crashes to measure traffic fatalities 10 days before and after the release date of top streaming albums.
Yes, I read this. This is great.
Between January 1st, 2017 and December 31st, 2022. So looking if there is a correlation between new music and fatal car accidents. I would they've popped in the top 10. Can I get some guesses from you? What was the #1 album between January 1st, 2017 and December 31st, 2022 on streaming? So this is based on streaming albums.
It's got to be a Taylor Swift. What was it?
Yeah, okay.
What was the big one?
But which
where
album?
she did like all the eras.
Yeah. I
was
cannot
it
remember what
called?
it was called.
There you go.
Started with F.
I'm a something girl.
Folklore?
No, Folklore was earlier.
Well, that's me done.
Anyway, that one.
It came out in 2022. Midnights. Perfect. #1 was Midnights, followed by Certified Lover Boy by Drake. And then Bad Bunny as well.
Yeah.
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny. So they used a sample size of 233,809 US traffic fatalities from 2017 to 2022. With the adjusted number of traffic fatalities, it was significantly higher on a major musical album release day than the 10 days before and the 10 days after, with
Really?
about a 15% relative increase in daily online streaming.
Do they ever record what's playing in the car though? Because I've heard from people who are in car accidents that your music does just kind of keep
Yeah,
playing,
and I've
a lot of
seen-
people will know what song they were listening to when they crashed.
And I've seen like videos, obviously everyone is filming everything because everyone wants to be an influencer, but of people who are in car accidents and the music just keeps playing. So it's not like the cars have a black box situation where you can kind of you have everything that was playing during that time, but it's an interesting now correlation does not equal causation, of course. Taylor Swift did not cause these car accidents. I'm just going to say this, but
Well, we don't know. Someone might have been so excited that they crashed, but it's not her fault.
But distracted driving has not been higher than ever right now with these little devices in our phone that also sit within our cars. So heed the warning that yes, you can be excited about brand new music that is coming out, but keep your eyes and your hands on the road, not in the air or not doing anything else.
Yeah. And didn't they say
Also,
like...
I do get...
Go, Peter.
Go, Peter.
I get the reason of wanting to be in your car to listen to the new music because usually it's your best speaker system and it's a great experience. Sit in a car park. There's nothing better than sitting in a car park listening to a new album for an hour, just eyes closed, absorbing. No need to be driving, my friend. That will distract you from the music.
That's right. And if you've got someone else, a passenger in the car, let them do the searching and the playing and not the driver.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't be skipping. Don't get too distracted.
Cool.
I can't talk about the songs. He's cut me off. Because if I talk about it now, then it doesn't work with the podcast because they have to cut this bit out about the
Max!
Don't you think I know that?
Right of reply.
You're making more work for the poor fella.
We'll let Toby sort it out.
What a legend, Toby.
What do you
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sure. You tuned into 4ZZZ and the show.
If you couldn't tell.
No idea. The science show, not the music show. With me, Max, we got Issy, we got Gabe, we got Peta, we got this. No idea. Space news. The University of Copenhagen, in collaboration with NASA, has looked at what happens in the stomach without the influence of gravity. The researchers examined blood samples from 52 astronauts who have participated in months-long missions to the International Space Station. The study results identified gastrointestinal changes that occur shortly after the astronauts leave Earth and as a consequence leave gravity behind. And this is what I'm calling their research. It's either shit research, which stands for Space Hampers Intestinal Tract, or some turd research, which stands for Toilet Usage Response Delayed.
I just need a minute. That's a great
Keep going,
clip.
Max. We're just coming to terms with what we're involved with.
Yeah.
And you told
I'm
us
trying to
off
stay out of
air
this.
as well, and I still didn't.
And we
still
said
scared
no.
me.
And we said no.
We vetoed this off air, and you still did it. Welcome to No Idea.
The study shows the lack of gravity in space causes food to move more slowly through the intestine, resulting in increased protein fermentation. Now, protein fermentation is when gut bacteria begin to break down protein instead of fibre because the fibre in the diet has been exhausted. Unfortunately, protein fermentation can be associated with negative health consequences such as kidney damage, mood swings, or reduced ability to focus. Potential interventions cited are increasing dietary fibre, supplementation with prebiotics, or other types of treatments that promote peristalsis to decrease gut transit time. And closer to home, Starship 40. This is the one that performed the controlled landing off the WA coast into the Indian Ocean on July 24. It is now battling rough seas because it's still floating and being towed. And it's complicating its recovery operation significantly. According to reports, the conditions were severe enough for vessels in the recovery fleet to be diverted to Christmas Island for shelter. The small Australian territory appears to be serving as a staging point for a tow rather than a final destination. Whether SpaceX plans to conduct any inspection or refurbishment work there, or simply wait for conditions to improve before the next leg of the journey has not been officially confirmed. ABC News reports people on the remote Australian territory have lined up in droves along the rugged coastline to watch the rocket being towed. And this is not a small vehicle. This is 50 metres long, so it's quite large.
I mean, it's entertainment, isn't it?
You don't see it often, do you?
No.
No.
And do you want to know what consists of the fleet? It completes, and we spoke about this last week because we said that Elon Musk is very particular about his tugs.
Yes, you can only have specific ones. Yes, they're chosen.
He's chosen the Norwegian offshore tug called Norman Ranger so that's the main towing vessel, and it's been supported by the vessel Skimmertide and an extra support vessel which has been chartered by SpaceX, which is called Go Australis. How good is that?
Nice.
Well, at least we got one.
That's it. That's it for the space news.
Oh, Max, we got the Eclipse. The Eclipse. Europe had an eclipse over the last few days. You've probably seen the Northern Hemisphere get all excited about their total solar eclipse.
I see the Northern Hemisphere get excited about a lot of stuff. I'm trying to ignore it.
Yeah, Issy and I were trying to figure out when we get one next.
Yeah.
And what was it, Issy?
22nd
of July, 2028.
22nd of July, yes, 2028. So next year. Or we've got another one.
Not next year.
Or the year after.
The year after, sorry, 2028.
Is that how numbers work?
Well, it's 1 year, 338 days. So excuse me for not rounding.
Yes, it's made.
And if you were rounding, it would still be 2 years. But hey, who's looking at maths at this science show?
I didn't enroll in any STEM programs for mathematics when I was in school.
I defy you.
Yes.
But unfortunately, with this next total solar eclipse, it's Sydney's beautifully in the firing line, like smack bang in the central path. They'll get it for about 3 or 3.5 minutes, and not quite as perfect as the sliver of the center of the country. If you're, I don't know, a bit north of Alice Springs in the Territory or up in the very top end of the Kimberley. Firstly, if you're listening from the top end of the Kimberley, text us because that would be. I'm fascinated to know. 0420 Why on earth are you listening to us? Mitchell Falls, Ellenbrae Station, Doondood Roadhouse. This is what I'm seeing on the Australian Space Agency's map. Home Valley Station.
And all that accommodation's already been pre-sold, pre-done.
Yes.
Yeah, so good luck. You have to take your camper van out.
But then, Izzy, I think you're getting into the ones that are coming after.
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me let the page load. But yes, we've got another one in actually 2 years or nearly 3. Now that I'm guesstimating myself.
That'd be 2029.
2029. Oh wow, yeah. But we've also got one in, I believe, 16 years. That I'm very much looking forward to.
Is that Brisbane?
The Brisbane one's 2030.
2030,
Right.
yes.
According to the Australian Space Agency.
Check the
25th of November 2030, we're at the end of the path across. It'll arc from just above Perth across, just grazing Alice Springs, and then hit southeast Queensland and Brisbane in 2030. So
well, I was talking about the annular eclipse, which will be 14th of October 2042.
Yes.
A little while away, but it looks like Queensland might have a good shot. It looks like the best place to see that one will be Canberra, though, so we might need to move the show a little bit further south.
I'm not going to Canberra. Even an eclipse can't pull me to Canberra.
Yeah, that one's particularly cool. It's what's it called? Annular, I think it's called, where it's the moon is at its furthest distance from Earth, so you get the biggest halo because the moon is as small as it could be while they're going through a total solar eclipse. The one in 2030 and 2028 in Australia are just standard.
So I'll book my flight for that one.
There you go, Canberra. Something exciting for you. You only have to wait 16 years, but hey, that's about the same frequency that Canberra gets exciting things regularly. So it seems fine.
Anyway, you're tuning in to 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea, but not for much longer. Sign us out, Gabe.
It is all we have time for. Much earlier in the show, Peter, you were talking about trying to communicate with pets and pets trying to communicate with us. Owen texted in, DJ Oz, saying, want to talk the same language as your pet? Well, you give them a Z Pet subscription. Couldn't say it better myself. Thank you to everyone who does support 4ZZZ, and thank you in particular to Granite, Andrew and Declan, and a couple of others who didn't want their name read out, who subscribed during our show today. If you're not a 4ZZZ supporter, you can have a look at the options and join them at 4ZZZ.org.au. You are, to quote the theme of National Science Week one more time, sowing seeds of science for us. Izzy, there's some prizes as well.
Yeah.
In the Afterglow of Radiothon, yeah?
We do. We've got prizes from Netherworld, Brizfest, Blind Boy Brewing, Consume/Valve Records, Dendy Cinemas, The Triffid, The Brightside, and Fortitude Valley Music Hall. So if you missed out on the main campaign of Radiothon, do not worry. We have plenty for you. 4ZZZ.org/support to grab yourself some subscription. And seed those sow those seeds of community radio. Seed those sows.
If you jump onto the website and subscribe, for most of the subscription options, you get to pick one of those prizes to go into the running to win, which then gets drawn out of a ballot. And that 4ZZZ.org.au website is also where you can listen back to the full recording of this show with all the music, as well as a bunch of our previous shows. The condensed version of the show is available on your podcasting platform of choice. To search up No Idea 4ZZZ. There's no with the K, K-N-O-W, No Idea 4ZZZ. Thanks to Toby for editing up that pod. Thanks to you, Max, Izzy, and Peter for your stories this week. We'll be back in your ears next week. Between now and then, check the sand for shark dandruff. Work out those ankles. Don't let a hermit crab run away with your seeds. And don't get too carried away with the new music while you're on the road. Max, what are you playing us
We're
out
going to
with?
hit us up with a bit of Hoodoo Agaroos, and the song is called Miss Free Love 69.
I don't think there's been a single artist who's had their name pronounced this entire show
K
correctly.
Pissed and the Hoodoo Agaroos.
I will speak to you next week.
Let's get out of here.
I'm a goddamn marvel of modern science.